Okay, so that's how we print basic text. Now, one of the things you'll notice is I did print out multiple lines of text. You can see that, first of all, oops, I think I went ahead one. That's strange. I seem to be missing a slide. But you can see I can use multiple print statements to print text across multiple lines. Now, the other question that comes up is because I can choose between single quotes and double quotes, does it matter which I use? What do you think, Christopher? Does it actually matter if I use single or double quotes?
Well, you're asking me the question, so I'm going to go with a yes there.
Well played, my friend.
Thank you.
Let's take a look at this example on the slide here. What if you want to print a string that says, "It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood"? Well, here's the interesting aspect of that particular string. If you were to enclose that string inside single quotes, then the problem is "it's" has a single quote in the string. So what ends up happening is when you are using the tool is Python is going to think that the string ends here because it sees that quote.
That's not a good thing.
No. So in this situation, because I'm actually using a single quote inside the string, I have to use double quotes to enclose it.
Okay.
If I had a double quote somewhere inside the string, then I would use, go for it, Christopher.
Single quotes.
Correct.
Yes.
If there's a double quote inside my string, I'm going to use single quotes to enclose the full string. So that's so I can choose that one either way. It's going to erase my ink. There we go. All right. So if there's a string you're displaying and it contains a single or double quote, that is going to force you to choose one or the other. But otherwise, I would say, and we were talking about good habits to develop, pick one and stick with it. Don't write half your program with single quotes, the rest of your program with double quotes, because somebody's going to come and look at your code later and go, well, is it significant that here you use single quotes versus double quotes? And it can be confusing for yourself when you're trying to remember later, or for someone else who's trying to understand your code.
Exactly.
So do generally pick one and stick with it. All right. Now, here's my slide. I was looking at what if I want the text to actually appear on multiple lines. You can use multiple print statements.
Actually, it's funny. We just had a question about that. So it's
perfect. Oh, did we? Awesome. Yeah. So I can use multiple statements, do one print, another print. Or another way of doing it is I can actually insert a /n. This is a backslash. And this backslash symbol is a special character that Python recognizes. And it basically says, hey, I've got a command I want to sneak in here.
Right.
And /n means I want to insert a new line. There's also a /t, which would insert a tab if you wanted to indent something.
Okay.
Also can be useful. So if you prefer to type everything on one line, you can just insert that /n in the code, and that will insert a new line right in it. So if you take a look at the slide here, you can see that my output, hickory dickory dock, appears on the first line, and in the output, the mouse ran up the clock shows up on the second line. And there is another really funky trick, and I have never seen this in any other programming language. Python actually allows you to enclose a string inside triple quotes.
Okay, then.
Ever seen that one before, Christopher?
I have not. That's relatively unique.
It is, but the triple quotes, and it can either be triple single quotes or triple double quotes.
Okay.
But when you do this, you can actually write your print statement over as many lines as you want inside Visual Studio, and it will appear on the output the same way you typed it into the editor.
Okay.
So kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So let's take a look. I'm just going to do a couple of examples inside Visual Studio of how that would work. So I can say print. Apparently, if I can type print. So let's try the new line approach. Let's see. The capybara lives in /n, and it's the backslash, not the forward slash.
Backslash, so yes. Upper left, lower right.
Yeah, America. So it lives in South America. Oops, I can't mix up single quotes and double quotes in one line of code. That would be a bad idea.
By the way, so one of the things that came up in the chat window is what would happen if I wanted to print out a string that had both a single quote and double quotes.
Oh, okay. Let's after we get this, let's try that.
Okay.
We'll solve that little problem.
Okay. All right.
That's an excellent question, but we will take a look at that.
Okay.
So here I can see the capybara lives in South America. You can see that going across for 2 lines.
Okay.
So we've got that successfully working. And just as an example of this is the strangest way to print over multiple lines I know, which is this mysterious triple quote system. So it's perfectly valid. It does work. But it's a little unusual. It's not typical of most programming languages. Most of them will use either an escape character like the /n, or you use multiple statements to print over the multiple lines.
Right. Now,
there was a question you said about how could I print something that contained a single quote and a double quote in the same line? All right. This is a little sneak peek at what we're going to see in the next chapter. Because one of the things you can do is you can actually, here is a string, and you can use a plus sign to take two strings and stick them together.
Okay.
So here is more. So I can actually use a plus sign to take two strings and treat them as one big long string. So now I can see that all appears as one big long string. So what I can do, and I have an extra space, so I'm going to get rid of that. So here is a double quote. And since that's a double quote, I'm going to put that inside a string that is single quotes.
Okay.
And then I'm going to say here is a single quote, which is there. And I'm going to take the string that contains the single quote and enclose that in double quotes.
Okay.
So just a little creativity. And then I can get a double quote and a single quote appearing in a single line.
Okay. And, you know, and I know you're going to get into this kind of momentarily, but there's always multiple ways to do something.
Yes.
And one of the nice things about doing it that way, if we go back to Susan's screen here, I'm just going to kind of use Susan's screen to talk to, is that you are kind of breaking it down maybe into smaller bite-sized chunks, which can certainly be helpful. But one of the things that you could actually do with that backslash is you can use that to escape a quote, so that if you kind of backed out the, yeah, there you go. Just say print, and then say, or you can, and then just do this, backslash, double quote.
Yep.
And then hit a space, and put something right there. Yeah. There you go. Perfect.
All right.
And now let's go ahead and run it again. And then now you'll notice that you've got the double quote in there as well. So multiple ways that you can do something, which we should talk about that.
We should.
Yeah, we
will.
should. Okay.
So the backslash character, so it's a special character. It has special meaning to Python.
Yep.
And it's a way of saying, hey, don't treat this quote the same way. So it's a way of saying, just display this quote. It's not actually ending the string. So that's another neat trick. So a couple of options there in terms of different ways to solve that problem.